Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview. On today's show, I'm so pleased to have Derek White. He's the managing partner, CEO, and founder of eDrive Auto. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Glad to be here.
So for dealers who are not familiar with eDrive Auto, how many years have you been in business? And at a very high level, because we're going to dive into some of the skill sets and services you provide, how would you describe your business to a dealer on a short elevator ride?
Okay, so we've been in business about 7 years, but the first few years it was kind of more of a hobby for me. And then we pivoted into the tech and data side. So as far as what we do, we provide custom solutions. We have a formidable tech stack, and we can provide custom solutions to dealers, to insurance companies, to banks, credit unions, et cetera, for converting customers.
Well, Derek, let's stop there for a minute. I know so many dealers who are like, I got this piece of software, but I have a few gaps. Who could I hire? Should I develop software myself? And I always tell dealers, please don't get in the software development business. It's really often leads to a dead end. Would you work with a dealer to put those custom pieces together, whatever they may be, just to help their retail sales process flow better?
Yeah, I mean, that's right in our wheelhouse, Brian. Dealers need companies that can build custom solutions to fill in the gaps. And that's exactly what we do. And anything from lead conversion to merchandising, appraisals, et cetera, we can do that.
Great. Now, let's talk about your vision for the future of automotive retail. There's a lot of change in the air. There's manufacturers, even as we speak, Ford is in Las Vegas with their dealers saying, hey, we need to shave $2,000 off our cost structure for our vehicle distribution. Maybe that's hybrid, direct to consumer, you fulfill, other consumers come to you. What do you say for, really analyzing all the news and talking with dealers? What does the future of automotive retail look like for you?
Well, I think, to be honest, and I think it's unknown. I think a lot of people have their own opinions. My opinion is I do think that the OEMs have a lot of Tesla envy. I think that they're trending in the direction of a direct-to-consumer play, and I think the dealers need to hedge against that. So as opposed to the dealers becoming kind of like a Manheim distribution center for the OEMs, as opposed to a full-service franchise dealership, they need to hedge against that. And I think that there's so many unknowns right now, and you see, I'm on LinkedIn every day. I'm reading automotive news. I'm trying to stay on, stay apprised of all of this, and it's very difficult because the market's ever changing. And but I think that we're on fertile ground right now. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think there's going to be a lot of consolidation, not only with car dealerships, but also vendors. So, we're poised and ready to meet that challenge. And, I'm excited about it.
Derek, when we talk about OEM direct to consumer, I think you're absolutely right. Some OEMs that's not their plan. They're more of a dealer partnership. I highlighted Toyota and Audi in a recent LinkedIn article, and both of those companies will be at the Modern Retailing Conference in November talking about their future vision for automotive retail. But what about flipping the script? What could dealers do to develop a more direct consumer approach? Because you would probably agree with me that for some dealers, they've relied on the OEM's marketing and brand and vehicles to help fuel sales. And yes, they're doing some local marketing, but oftentimes with not much sophistication, more spray and pray. So what if we flip the script? What if dealers realized, as listening to this podcast, that maybe it's time for them to be on the offensive, to build a more independent, OEM free of restrictions strategy, how would that look according to you and your company?
Well, we know that about 64% of used car buyers have a trade-in. We know about 68% in that neighborhood of new car buyers have a trade. So I think you open the conversation up. I mean, trade is in our DNA. We've been doing it a long time. We do it very well. So I think that dealers could start by creating an independent, dedicated buying center companion website to hedge again, against the OEMs if there's any drastic changes. To also be able to source fresh inventory, something that's not hasn't been on the market for months and priced out of the market and goes through the lane and it's an unsell and then they so I think having a dedicated consumer direct buying strategy to buy used cars is their best option right now. And then from that, you could actually dovetail off of that into, hey, what are you replacing this vehicle with? Are you replacing this vehicle? Well, let's get you pre-qualified, and then you can lead them right into some type of merchandising or inventory solution as well. So I think starting there, giving a customer some value. Hey, we give you your instant trade value, and lead right into the sales process from there.
So Derek, let me get this right. We're talking about, if let's just say I'm the Pash Auto Group, instead of putting a marketing campaign together to drive people to the trade-in page on your website, and for many dealers, that's an iframe KBB tool, which means
Right.
marketing can't be measured. We're talking about like a microsite called pashcash.com with a marketing campaign that says top dollar for your used car, or buy a firm offer in 20 seconds. And so are we saying that eDrive Auto would build that site, build in the trade tools, run the marketing, and give dealers, whether it's 50, 100, 150 trade-in leads a month, completely independent from their own, maybe say, OEM websites that could be bogged down with slow code or bogged down with iframes? We're talking about a clean start, just like a Carvana would.
That's exactly right. It would be a adjunct website, and it would be a clean start, and it would be you could track every movement on that website. And I think that when you send consumers direct to a VDP or to the value of trade page, what happens is you have a lot of that cognitive load UX that comes into play, and the customer is there for a specific reason, and then they get pulled off into some other direction and eventually will bounce. So I think with a dedicated buying center, or what I like to call an adjunct website or companion website, the dealer has a lot more control, and that website or that microsite can be modified over time and tweaked to meet market demand and to help the dealer grow their inventory. So I think it's twofold. Number one, it's getting you away from the noise, getting the customer away from the noise, and it's a direct. You can drill down and really target a certain customer. Let's say you just want to target folks that on Facebook or social media that have a 2020 to 2022 Camry to trade in. You can do that. So there's a lot of different things that you can do on that website to target the right customer and create kind of more of a what I would consider a lower funnel buyer.
So Derek, there's been some questions. I've been talking to dealers on the road lately, and one of my points that I'm making is you need to have an intentional direct-to-consumer buying center strategy. And dealers said, Brian, we used to do things in the service lane, but we don't have cars that trade in. And I still think you should be approaching consumers in the service lane for sure. Folks should realize that sometimes that car in the service drive could be a second car, and for the right price, they may let it go. But dealers have said it's either on or off. I'm talking about a dedicated separate site that could have marketing 24/7 running. The question that came up recently in a local meeting is, should the website be associated with the dealer's name? Let's just use an example here. So if I'm the Morgan Auto Group here in Florida, should it be morganbuyscars.com, or should it be Florida Car Cash? And it's not clear which dealer group. And the person who brought this up said, well, dealers have a reputation for not giving the best price. Carvana has done a great job. Maybe some other independent sites have done a good job. Hey, do you have any thoughts about that? Whether this dedicated direct-to-consumer buying center microsite is branded with the dealer group's name, or do they make up something clean that doesn't disclose that?
Well, that's a very good question. And I've spoken to many dealers about that very subject. And we're working with a dealer group up in South Carolina right now on their buy center. And they have a completely separate name, or that is a total different look and feel than their group. It has a different name. It's a very catchy name. So that's one that's one solution. The other is, it depends on the market. I think that in some markets, like when we look at our trade, our conversions, our lead conversions, we look at form fills, form completion rates, etc., engagement rates. In some markets, in maybe a rural area of Louisiana, we have dealers that have a form fill or conversion rate of up to 70%. That means that they have a loyal base in that market. So in that market, it may behoove the dealer to attach their group name or their name to that site. In other markets where you have a larger group that covers a region or what have you, you could have a regional site that would feed into those individual stores. So it just really depends on, I think, what the dealer's looking for, how well they know their market. If they have a loyal, smaller market with customers that are very loyal to them with repeat business.
Well, I think that's a great reminder. I think it's test. There are some markets where, for example, the Champ Automotive Group, I use the example many times in Colorado, they have a very high consumer rating because of their one price, one person, 1 hour marketing pledge, the Maury's Auto Group or the Walzer Auto Group in Minnesota. So I think if customer service or exceeding customer expectations has been the DNA of dealership for a long time, I think you start off with doing it. But there's oftentimes stores are bought, the name is associated with old management or maybe the location even. And so I think we need to be flexible on that point. I just bring it up because as dealers plan for an intentional direct-to-consumer buy center microsite, they need to test. And so let's talk about the future. When someone comes to your microsite, you have your really state-of-the-art trade software that's built into the microsite seamlessly so you can track marketing. And in seconds, really, we get the consumer with a firm offer to purchase. So does that bring up the question, are lead forms dead? Is it better just to allow the consumer to get their trade information, then ask their information in a conversational way? Or like so many trade tools, it's gated. We want leads. Well, what's your thought on what this buying center experience should look like so the dealers are really talking to people who are serious, not just tire kickers?
Yeah, so I don't think lead forms are dead yet. I think that there's some value there, but I think that the future is going to be more of what I consider real-time retailing or connected retailing, where you're handed off immediately. I don't think it's a good idea, and some of our competitors have the lead form at the front end of the process. Some have at the very back end of the process. One reason that we convert so well with TradeView, which is our appraisal on-page appraiser, is because we allow the customer to start buying into the process. So they start their trade, and it's very sticky, very user-friendly and fast. And as they go through their trade and they're putting in, we blur out, we have what we call an appraisal diamond in the background. We kind of blur that out. You can kind of see the numbers moving. It creates some curiosity on the consumer side. And then once we're ready to show them that value, we're going to show you your value on the next page. Please give us some information. That's how we do it now. We also can, put that form at the front, at the back, have no form. We can connect direct to text. So SMS, MMS, so total flexibility for our customers. So we, as far as lead forms, and I know this is probably a long-winded way to explain or answer that question, Brian, but I don't think they're dead yet, but because I think there is some use for them still. And I think consumers, as long as they continue to fill them out, I think that they'll be around.
Yeah, and I think that the blended approach of during business hours, if you're staffed properly with the right tech stack, when someone starts a trade process, you can offer assistance, and maybe they don't want to talk to anybody, but I think offering by saying, hey, my name is Brian, I'm a real person, I'm working here at the dealership or the trading company, is there anything I can help you with? I think that personalizes the experience. It creates a connected experience, because after their trade, the next question is, hey, we really serious. Would you like a firm cash, payment today? Do you want to drive over? So I think it's blending what I would say traditional lead form conversion after hours into conversational commerce in real time during the day are really pieces of the future puzzle we have to solve. When you think of your company and the many different software pieces that you're providing for dealers and dealer groups, just to fill the gaps, because we know there are still many gaps, how are you helping dealers with privacy? I know one of the issues that are coming up with the GLB Act at the end of the year, and there seems to be more and more concerns over data and privacy. As you're building these tools, one of the concerns, right, is when someone does submit their information, we can no longer send them as ADF XML in the clear into some email listener. Are you using APIs? How are you protecting or securing or encrypting the data so dealers who are building custom solutions don't get caught up in frivolous lawsuits?
Well, we on our end, we do not keep data for a long period of time in our database. Number one, it gets purged as far as customer data, and we are working to provide a secure way to pass that customer information to the dealer. One of the ways that we're working on, we have a new product that we call Bridge, and Bridge is our what we would consider our hybrid connected retailing chat and text tool. And what we want to do is we want to push the customer, allow them to start filling out, again, buying into that trade and completing their trade value, and then handing them off through Bridge direct to the dealer. And therefore, we don't have any information from that customer. We may ask them for their name and maybe their phone number so we can connect them to the dealer via text. But, and we're always looking for better ways to secure data. I know there's a lot of new regulation. Our legal department has been sifting through a lot of information and pages with regarding to GLB.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and I know since you and I have talked about it many times that dealers need to be aware that by the end of this year, if their website is sending in the clear name, email, and phone number data into the dealer's CRM using ADF XML, those are violations that could result in some pretty hefty lawsuits. So everyone who's listening to today's podcast, just be mindful. I was just speaking to dealers in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I met the woman, the chief legal counsel for a dealer group of 20 stores, and she said, Brian, we requested new contracts from all our website providers, not legal letters or statements, I will try, but literally updated contracts that said that they will not send data from the website in the clear. And she said that that is the only way that dealers can be protected. Will dealers still get sued? Yes, but they will be able to then point to the contract and have a reasonable defense that the technology company that they contracted with specifically stated that this wasn't going to happen. So it's very important as you're working with technology partners like eDrive Auto that you're having conversations about where data is being stored, how data is being transmitted, and how to avoid the frivolous lawsuits. It looks like 2023 will be the year for that. Derek, as we wrap up our conversation today, I want to tell you that I am so excited that you are offering dealers direct-to-consumer custom buy center microsites. It seems to be the hottest topic, especially when dealers realize that they don't have a consistent intentional outreach and that your microsites are set up with analytics and your package to drive traffic to these microsites is a turnkey solution for consistent flow of locally acquired used cars. So, Derek, if somebody wants more information on your buy center microsites, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way, the most direct way, is just via email. My email address is Derek, DEREK, at edriveauto.com. Our website is edriveauto.com. I will be at Digital Dealer next month, and we're having a dinner that we're going to be talking about this very subject on October 11th at Carmine's there on the Strip. And then I'll be at CXO and the MRC conference down in Palm Beach in your backyard, Brian, in November. So looking forward to those conferences as well.
Great. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'll be at that dinner at Digital Dealer Vegas at Carmine's. So if anybody wants to learn with me, along with Derek and his team, about their new custom buy center microsites, make sure you reach out to me or Derek about Vegas. And of course, this podcast is in a series leading up to the Modern Retailing Conference in Palm Beach, November 13th, 14th, and 15th. Dealers are encouraged to register. There's 5 educational tracks, amazing content, stuff for general managers, sales managers, marketing managers, HR directors, and the creative folks that differentiate your dealership from local competitors, all part of the Modern Retailing Conference, some amazing keynote addresses and leadership on what the future of modern retailing looks like. All of the information, the agenda, tickets, hotel is at modernretailingconference.com. And if this is the first time you're listening to one of my podcasts, you should know that there are dozens of interviews with industry leaders, disruptors, and, well, software developers are bringing game-changing software to automotive retail. So wherever you listen to your podcast, just look up the Brian Pash Podcast, and you'll find these great conversations. Thank you for spending time with us today. Thank you, Derek, and I'll see you next time on another podcast interview.